Hello, my friends, and it's so good to be here. It's been 3 weeks now since I believe since our last video, unless it's been 4 weeks. Maybe it's been 4 weeks. Well, either way, we left and it was beautiful. It was summer, and here we are back, and it's fall. So it's still beautiful. But I just did not expect to come back to a whole different season. So it's great to be back. I have missed you guys, and I am so excited about today's video. And today's project is the Mushroom Meadow. It seems like it's been ages since I designed it because I designed it before the trip. And so mushrooms are so popular. They're so much on trend. I'm seeing mushrooms everywhere. And my friends are seeing mushrooms everywhere. People are wearing mushroom hats, and they buy mushroom pillows, and I just bought my son some mushroom lamps, and so you get the idea. Mushrooms are just so very, very popular, and this also is something that is a really big nod to the boho trend, which has been hot for a very long time. So I have two different colorways, and I would love to say hello to you guys, and then we'll talk about my two colorways.
Julie says hello.
Hi, Julie.
Fonda says good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Hi, Fonda, and happy Thursday to you, my friend. I'm so glad you joined today.
Linda S says welcome back. Hope you're both feeling better.
Oh, thank you so much, Linda. Thank you for asking. We definitely are feeling better. And you know what? I'm just going to share. So when we came back from Europe, we brought a little souvenir with us that we were not super thrilled about. It was COVID, and we're definitely much better now. We're past the quarantine period, and it's so nice to be back because, in fact, we missed a little over an extra week. We planned to only miss like maybe 2.5 weeks, and it ended up being much longer than that.
Ellen says, hi, Irina. Great to see you, and sends lots of hearts.
Oh, thank you so much, Ellen. It's so good to hear from you, and thank you for the hearts. I'm sending you guys hearts right now in my heart.
Kathy K says, hope you're feeling better.
Oh, thank you so much, Kathy. So much better. Oh my gosh. I tell you guys, I hope that everybody stays well. But should you get the you know what, most definitely get Paxlovid because we took it and I feel like it's really helped.
Kim K says, hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. Hope you had a wonderful trip.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim, and happy Thursday to you, my friend. We had such a great trip. We didn't get sick until the very end, and in fact, we didn't even know. But we had such a wonderful trip. We went to so many beautiful places. It was a blast. It was, just really, really magical.
Kim C says, hi, Irina, Tony, Lauren, and all.
Hi, Kim.
Betty says, hello, you guys. Welcome back. Glad you're feeling better.
Hi, Betty, and thank you so much. Yeah, it's so nice to be back, as much as I love to travel and see beautiful new places, but it's always nice to come home as well and, just kind of be in my happy place, aka my office, where I do a lot of designing and playing with beads, and I'm just surrounded by beautiful things, and it's a nice thing after all these travels and new experiences, it's nice to be around my happy, familiar place, and especially people too. You know, I miss everybody at the store. It's so good to be back. So this is what we are making today. We have two colorways in each of the necklaces as well as the earrings. So here's my first colorway, and this is Fall Garden. So this is just very colorful, and really the inspiration here are the autumn leaves. You know, it's literally this time of the year. Of course, when I designed it, it was just kind of looking forward to the fall colors, but now we're actually starting to see the beginning of the fall colors. And so that is very much the inspiration for this colorway. And then, of course, purple blues. You know, I love this colorway as well. It's definitely so much more subtle. And when I designed this colorway, I was just thinking about like a starry night. You know, how it's really magical when, well, I don't know if you guys go for walks at night. We go for lots of walks at night with our little dog, and we stargaze, and it's magical. So when I was designing this colorway, that's literally the inspiration for it.
Kathy K says, love the cute little owl.
Oh, thank you so much. You noticed my little owl. I'm so glad because I adore this little owl. He's kind of subtle, but you know, it's a meadow. It's like mushrooms and flowers and a little owl. And so he's in both colorways. And I should probably tell you that the focal point here is a black onyx in the purple blues variation, and it is sunset jasper in what did we call this? The fall garden variation.
Sabrina says hello to all. Good evening.
Hi, Sabrina, and thanks for joining us today.
Connie says good evening. Hope you had a wonderful trip.
Oh, thank you so much, Connie, and good evening. We absolutely had such a magical trip.
And Linda S says, where did you travel to?
Oh, thank you for asking, Linda. So we flew into Venice, and we spent 3 beautiful days in Venice, and then we took a cruise around the Mediterranean. We stopped at multiple locations in Italy and Greece. We also stopped in one city in Turkey, and we had never been to any of those places before. Well, except for Rome. We ended in Rome. And I have been to Rome a very long time ago, but it was really nice to go again and revisit some of the places and visit some of the new places that I had never been to. And it was just magical. It was, of course, so nice to share those places with Tony. And we went with another couple, so our friends were there to share all the beautiful sights with us. It was so wonderful. I wish I could have taken all of you guys with me because, you know, I feel like art is so connected, whether it's jewelry or architecture, or paintings, and literally we saw all of the above. Of course, we went to a gorgeous archaeological dig in Turkey. Actually, it's a dig and a site, and so I think you guys would have enjoyed it, given that we all have this in common. We all enjoy beautiful art objects.
Trudy says, hello, everyone. It was hard finding you tonight. Sounds like you had a wonderful trip.
Yes, we did indeed. And I have to apologize. I know we started, thank you for mentioning that, Trudy. So we had a really difficult time starting. Sometimes, you know how Facebook can be extremely temperamental. So tonight is unfortunately one of those nights. But now that we've started, I think we should not have any issues. And I'm glad you hung in there. So thank you so much for not giving up on us.
Kathy H says, I don't feel safe taking walks at night. There have been grizzly and black bear sightings, and it's the rut season.
Oh my, that sounds terrifying. Kathy, where do you live?
Montana.
Oh, Montana. Yes. I'm like, oh my gosh, you live with a bunch of bears.
Literally.
Literally, yeah. But I'm sure it's very beautiful where you are. Well, hopefully, once they're done with, you know, the rut season, maybe you can take walks then. Okay, ladies. So one more thing about the kits. So this is for anybody who is new or maybe not new. It's really for anybody. So both necklaces as well as the earring kits are already listed on our Etsy site, or in our Etsy shop, I should say. And just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So if and when you order the earring kits, the earring kit comes separately from the necklace kit, and there are two pair, wait a minute, this is wrong. There are two pair of earrings in each earring kit, and it will be, it goes by the same color name. For example, all of this is Fall Garden, and all of this is Purple Blues. So if you order Purple Blues earring set, this is what you're getting. You're getting two pair of earrings. And I know they don't look quite as pretty on my work surface as they do hanging, so you know, you just use your imagination.
Linda S says, sounds like a magical trip. I know two other couples who were also in Italy at the same time.
Oh, well, you know, we could have run into them and we would not have known. But I hope they had a wonderful time as well.
And she adds beautiful colorways.
Oh, thank you so much.
And Kathy H says, it's beautiful here. I live out in the mountains.
Oh, I bet it's beautiful. All right, guys. So I'm thinking, let's get started with our project. How about it? So this is what I'm going to do. I am just going to move some of my earrings and necklaces, and I think I'm just going to keep one necklace, or maybe I'll keep one of each of these earrings right here. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm thinking we're going to start by making a little mushroom, because of course that's the inspiration for the entire thing. And so here are all of my makings for one of the strands. So it's obviously it's a tassel of sorts. So we are going to start making one part of the three-part tassel. And the mushroom is really very, very simple. So each mushroom consists of a little drop, and this is the smallest one of the three. That's the one I'm going to demo. So whatever the size of the drop, you know, they're all approximately the same shape, and so we're just going to treat them very similarly. So you're always going to string the drop onto this very long head pin first. And what makes the cap of the mushroom sit really nicely and not move is this little rondelle. So each mushroom is going to be stabilized by this little rondelle, which is actually a little bit concave, right? So you guys have seen these rondelles before probably, or maybe you haven't, I don't know. But because this is a little bit concave on either end, it does an incredibly good job of fitting right over the drop, no matter what the size of the drop. And then it just kind of stabilizes the cap on the other end. So,
Barb says, good evening, all.
hi, Barb. I'm so glad you joined us, and good evening. All right, guys. So we are going to make a 90-degree angle because, of course, we're about to make a wrapped loop. And so I'm just making a 90-degree angle. And I did that with my chain nose pliers, and now I'm going to switch to my round nose pliers because we're about to make the actual loop. So I'm going to start approximately 5-6 millimeters from the bend and go in the opposite direction of the bend, making half a loop. And then to make the other half a loop, I simply cross over with my fingers. At this point, I usually will look at the loop and see if it needs a little bit of tweaking. So it looks like maybe it could go just a tiny bit this way. So I'm just going to roll the loop a little bit further to center it. And now we're going to switch to our chain nose pliers again and just hold on to the loop with our chain nose as we wrap or coil just with our fingers. So right now I'm going from the loop to the cap, and once I wrap into that little space, I'm just going to go in the opposite direction from the cap to the loop. And this is what I consider organic loops when you wrap it twice. And it makes it, not only does it make it really nice and stable, but also I like the look. It's a chunkier coil, and it just looks a little bit more up to date. And I know I already mentioned that it's much more stable, and I really like the stability of it. And so now I'm just tucking in that little tail with my chain nose so it doesn't stick out. It's right there. You guys can see it, right? Okay, so now we're going to continue building our tassel. And I have some wire. So because I'm using pretty diminutive beads for this project, I'm going with 24 gauge wire. So 24 gauge is definitely on the thinner side of wire. And the brand I'm using is Beadsmith, because of course that is the brand that is most similar to half hard wire. And it's always very important to know if you need half hard or dead soft for a specific project. So when I create a project like this, where all the links are going to be self-supporting, I really like using half hard wire because, of course, our pieces are not going to be bending back and forth and eventually break. It's much more sturdy. So I just made a little loop and wrapped it. And now I'm going to add our beautiful little flower. This just reminds me of something like a forget-me-not or some kind of a field flower. So it just reminds me of a meadow. And now I am going to, so you saw that I connected the loop before I wrapped it. And I'm going to keep building almost like a little chain as I wrap these next couple of components. In fact, next I'm going to be incorporating a little chain into my next loop. So again, I'm making my loop, and whenever you're using the loop itself to connect, of course, we're going to connect by sliding whatever component is next right into the loop before wrapping the loop. So this is what it's going to look like. And now that we have connected the little chain, and so this project, or rather this kit, I should say, comes with a little chain segment. So you're just going to have to cut it yourself into not into links, but into segments of links. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But in the meantime, my strategy here is very similar to the strategy I used when I made the little mushroom, meaning I'm making organically wrapped loops. So I'm wrapping them the one time from the loop to the bead, and then just turning around and wrapping in the opposite direction from the bead to the loop. And I just did that with both loops. So now it's time to trim any excess wire.
Kathy K is wondering if the flower... Sorry, I lost the comment. Are the flower beads sold separately or on a strand?
Thank you for asking, Kathy. They are sold in little tiny strands. I don't remember how many are on a strand, but yes, they are sold on a strand. And I am, again, just going to tuck in those ends. It's very important to tuck those in because, of course, otherwise we'll be snagging on everything, and that's just not fun. Okay, so now I have my little chain that's attached. So if we look at the sample, you will see that I'm not using, so I will find that exact same part of the tassel, right? And you can see that what I have is a slightly longer chain segment. So what I usually do is I attach it and then I cut it to whatever length I want. So you get a couple of inches of chain in this kit, and I like to leave it a bit open-ended so that you can cut it however you want to. So if you want to vary the lengths a little bit, that's okay. Okay, and because of the daintiness of the components and the fairly dainty chain, I just did not want to use jump rings to attach my tassel to the decorative ring. So instead, I'm just using a link. So we're going to make another link yet. And again, I'm keeping everything fairly small, but I wanted to add a little bit more color. As long as we have another link, why not use that to add a little more color, right? And so we're just going to throw a seed bead onto this link. So just because it is practical, it doesn't mean it can't also have a little pop of color. Because, you know, we all like color. We have that in common. And so I think this time I'm going to pick up one of these little orange seed beads. This is like a matte orange. I love this shade of orange. And I feel like, you know, all the colors are just kind of colors of a fall meadow. So one thing I want to point out is that we are about to make a loop that connects our component to this decorative ring. So the loops that I have been making so far with the wire are really quite small. So this is maybe 3 millimeters in diameter. And our next loop, the one that connects to the decorative ring, needs to be quite a bit larger. So maybe you're using a round nose pliers, or maybe you're using a bail making pliers. Either way, I'm just pointing out that look at the size of the top loop versus the bottom loop. So the bottom loop again is maybe about 3 millimeters, and the top loop is really closer to 5 millimeters. And that, of course, is because we're going to slide it right onto this ring, just like that. And once we do, we can go ahead and wrap it just like any other loop. I suppose it doesn't have to be quite this large. If you wanted to make it more like 4 millimeters, you could do that. But I'm just pointing out that you cannot get away with a little teeny tiny loop. So again, I am wrapping over my coil. So I'm making that initial coil, and then I'm wrapping right over it. And the reason I'm going back and doing that with the first loop is because these two loop components, you kind of have to do that. If you may have already experienced that. In fact, let me know if you've been making these organically wrapped loops, and have you ever tried to completely finish just the one loop and not the other loop? I hope I am making myself clear. It just does not work out very well, because if there's nothing to hold the bead in place, I feel like it just keeps sliding and your wrap gets bigger and bigger, and you're not able to control it as well. So by making the first wrap, then creating the second loop, and then going back to the first loop and finishing the wrap, I'm really just kind of controlling the size and shape of the organically wrapped loops.
Barbara's wondering if that's a closed ring then.
So once you wrap it, the decorative ring. Oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
It is a closed ring indeed. So because we cannot open this ring, we are just wrapping, we're creating a loop that connects our pieces to the ring.
Maria says, hi, Irina, Tony, and makers from Buena Park, Southern Cal.
Hi, Maria. I'm so glad you joined us today. So I have already pre-made a couple more. So let me, before I connect them, I'm just going to show them to you. So I actually made it identical this time to my sample. So obviously, if you order the kits, you're going to have a really detailed picture, and this is how I assembled all the beads. So, you know, the way I do it is so that every bead is staggered. When you look, you know, if we line these up, you can see that every bead is a little bit staggered, so that you can literally see every bead. They're not, oh, and I just moved it. They're not fighting, right? Maybe I'll put the owl one in the center, actually. I think I might like that better. But you can see that they're not fighting. Everything is just kind of staggered to show off every little component. And you can most certainly do a little remix if it makes you happy, but you will have a picture of exactly this.
Kim K says, adorable dangles, and she sends emojis that are in the dangles.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. You're just way too cute.
Kathy K says, what a bail making pliers help with loop consistency?
Kathy, yes, that's such a good question. It would so much help with the loop consistency. And the reason I'm not using a bail making pliers today is because I actually made my little loops just a little bit smaller than the smallest bail making pliers, if that makes sense. But you could most definitely make the smaller loop with the smallest bail making pliers jaw, and then make the larger one either with the larger jaw on the smallest one, or even with the small jaw of the medium bail making pliers. And I hope everybody knows exactly what we're talking about. So bail making pliers, you know what, let me grab one. So this is the medium size of the bail making pliers, and it's really preference, but you can see that this side right here of the bail making pliers is very similar to where I made my larger loop on my round nose pliers. So whatever you're comfortable working with, but yes, especially for the larger loop, the bail making pliers will work really nicely if you have one. And I do love working with them. Okay, so I'm just finishing my loops in the second strand of my tassel, and then we have one more to go. So again, I pre-made this, so this is what it looks like, and we're just going to put this right into the ring, and now we're ready to coil. Okay, so one thing I want to say is whatever your preference is, as far as if you like just regular wrapped loops, or if you like the organically wrapped loops that I've been making a lot of, I really feel that if you are using 24 gauge wire, which is what I'm doing today, it's a super good idea to make organically wrapped loops. On the bottom component where I used that long head pin, it's probably not as necessary. But as you get into working with that very fine 24 gauge wire, it's super helpful, because that actually makes your piece so much more stable and so much less likely to break. And I will point out too that when I make the organically wrapped loops, I actually make it a point to wrap just a tiny bit over where the loop starts, right? Because especially with the really fine wire, that is going to be a fairly vulnerable spot on your loop. So by reinforcing it this way, you're really making your piece that much better made. Okay, so we're going to figure out, is this a good order of things? Yes, it is actually. I did intend for the owl one, which is the longest one, to be right in the center. So I think I'm going to go to the next part of the project, which is attaching the leather. And so I'm using 1.5 millimeter leather, and what I'm doing is just simply folding it in half. So I'm lining up the two ends, because I am about to make a lark's head knot. So once I make that lark's head knot, that is going to just affix everything in the order that it's in, because until you do, of course, all of our tassel components are going to be able to slide. but not once we attach our leather. And so a lark's head knot is just very simple. You know what? Let me do a little instant replay. It's just where you have a loop sticking out like that, and we feed both ends of the leather right into the loop and make it a little more snug, and there is our lark's head knot. So once we made our lark's head knot, we are going to find this little cube. So this is a wonderful little cube. It's not only is it fun and decorative and it has a flower on it, but it has an amazingly large hole for a fairly small component. So in fact, it's large enough to feed both of these. Well, maybe it's large enough to feed both ends of the leather end. And of course it is large enough. We just have to flatten the leather a little bit. So you saw what I'm doing. I have my two leather ends together. So I'm just holding them together and I kind of flatten them to make them fit a little easier. And so now I'm just sliding my little flower bead all the way to the lark's head knot. And this is just like a fun little detail. So next, we are going to put one of these absolutely gorgeous beads on our necklace. And I'm going to just point out that these beads are absolutely beautiful. They are cut by hand, so each one is going to be different. It's going to be different in shape and in color. So each one is just a wonderful little surprise. The black onyx beads, let me show you the black onyx, are matte like this, and these are going to be much more consistent in shape and size. But the really colorful sunset jasper, each one is like this amazing little nature's work of art. So these are actually not drilled large enough where I can go through with both ends of my leather. So I'm just going through just with the one end, and we are going to leave the other end of the leather exposed. So something like this, just like how I have it on my sample necklace. And so you will just see the leather going around the bead. So to tie the knot, we're going to want to bring the leather all the way to the opening in the bead, right? Because otherwise it's just not going to hang correctly. So once I bring the leather to the opening, I actually hold my finger right over it. So the other thing too is you don't need to make it super, super tight, and this way it will just hang a little nicer. And now I'm bringing the knot all the way to the bead, and we're going to make it a little snug, but again, not too snug because I want it to hang correctly. And sometimes if you make it a little too snug, all of a sudden your knot moves a little bit to the back of the bead, and that's just not quite as nice of a look. Okay, so now we are going to make our leather strap a little, you know what, I'm just going to do a little housekeeping here. There's just way too much going on. So we'll get rid of our little wire ends and our seed beads, and it'll just be so much easier to see. So now we're going to start adding beads and spacers to the leather strap. And for this, I am using these absolutely wonderful Indonesian lampwork beads. They're kind of a lampwork bead, they're kind of a seed bead, They're very organically shaped and stripy, and I love putting them in projects because, you know, they give our project such a wonderful handmade look. So I'm just going to start tying a knot about 1.5 inches from our last knot. So, and you know, you can space the knots however you want to, or rather you can space these little groups of beads however you want to. So this is going to be a surgeon's knot. So that means I start the knot just like a regular overhand knot, but then I put the leather through the loop one more time. And as we start to tighten it forms a little figure 8. And so if you see that little figure 8, you know you're doing it right. I always like seeing that little figure 8, even though I have done this like a schmillion times now. Okay, guys, so now we are going to start stringing our beads onto the leather. And I am spacing them with these wonderful little daisy spacers with a large hole. We're so used to seeing daisy spacers rather, with a standard size or a small hole. But this is a bit exciting, you know, when we find just the right spacer to use with our leather. So I always get excited about that. But please don't assume that when you buy these Indonesian lampwork beads, that they're always going to have consistent holes. That's just not the case, because as I was selecting the beads for this project, I actually had to look through quite a few strands. And sometimes, you know, a whole color group would just have a smaller hole. Sometimes there would be entire strands that did not have a large enough hole. But then, so they must be using some kind of, okay, if you make lampwork beads, help me out here. What do you call the metal piece that you create the bead on? What is that?
Mandrel.
Is it a mandrel? Yes, I guess I'm used to thinking of a mandrel as a ring mandrel or a bracelet mandrel, because I don't make glass beads. I make things out of metal, like rings and bracelets. So I guess I'm not used to thinking of that as a mandrel. Okay, guys, so what I'm doing is just forming these little groups of 3. And you can, again, you know, you can always do a little bit of a remix and do it a little differently if you want to. So I am doing little groups of 3, and I'm not super concerned about the exact spacing, honestly. However you do it, just believe me, it works out really well. So I'm just not even paying a whole lot of attention to my spacing. But, you know, if you are a measurer, then by all means, let's measure. I'm really more of a winger than a measurer. So, you know, as long as you embrace just a little bit of asymmetry, it all works out at the end. So this is going to be my last little group on this side. And I still have to make a few little groups on the other side. So these surgeon's knots, what I like about them is, and the reason I use this rather than a regular overhand knot, is if you look at this carefully, you know, like closely, you can see that the leather is straight going into the group and coming out of the group.
And if you've tried knotting on leather in a similar way with just overhand knots, you probably know that you get this kind of a zigzag when you just do an overhand knot. Whereas this knot, not only does it keep your leather going in the same direction, you know what, I'm just going to cut this a little bit to make it a little easier for myself. So if you have a difficult time putting your leather through the bead, you know, if the hole is maybe just, it's not like these holes are too small, but they're literally just right. So if you feel that it's a little difficult to go through the holes with the leather, you can always cut the leather at a little bit of an angle, and it's just so helpful. You know, it's just, it's almost like creating a little needle. So what I was saying is that not only are we not sending our leather in this kind of a zigzag pattern, but also I really enjoy the look of these knots. You know, they're a little bit more decorative than just a regular overhand knot. So that is my reason. And this goes so amazingly quickly, you guys.
Kathy K says, inspiration for a matching bracelet.
Absolutely, Kathy. You can most definitely make a matching bracelet. In fact, you could really have a wonderful time with it depending on how you choose to do it, because you could incorporate that little square flower bead. And if you remember, the square flower bead will fit 2 strands of leather. So that's just a little bit of a thought, right? I mean, like, we could make a 1 strand, but we could also make a 2 strand. So there are just so many directions that we could go with this. Let me know if you have any other ideas. How would you make a bracelet? Okay, guys, so we actually are going to have a couple of beads left over. And we did this on purpose so that just in case, if maybe 1 or 2 beads does not fit, but actually they should all fit. So you just have a couple of extra beads, I don't know, maybe for earrings, or who knows, maybe for your next project. Or you could just put an extra little bead at the end of our pattern. And so now I'm just tying my last knot of this project, and then we are going to decide just how long this should be. So it's really very easy to customize this necklace to your preferred length. Because, you know, it can be up to about 40 inches. You have enough leather to make it about 40 inches. Most people really don't want a 40-inch necklace. And I don't really know how long I'm making this right now. I think I'm just going to make it maybe a couple of inches longer than my sample. And my sample, I believe, is 32 inches. So, you know, I find that I usually make samples to fit me, and since I am about 5'3", possibly and a half, that's very important. And I don't know. I always thought it was 5'3 and a half, but maybe not. And so for me, 32 inches is plenty. But if you are taller, you can most certainly make this longer. And I am just setting up all the little findings that I'm going to need to finish my project. So if you guys have never used these leather crimps, they're absolutely wonderful. This is my go-to for nearly everything. Like, literally, I'm wearing jewelry right now that has these. Just about everything I wear has these, of course, if it's made with leather. So these are pretty great. And we're going to fit them on our leather like this. We're going to use a little bit of super new glue. And then we're also going to crimp them onto the leather. And before I do this, I will just tell you that the only part of this that's crimpable is the center. So you will see that there are little slats between the three different parts. So they kind of subdivide this into three portions, and we're only crimping the center. So I'm using my super new glue and just putting a little tiny amount of glue right on my leather. And super new glue really does dry very, very quickly. So before it has a chance to dry, we're going to crimp it, because we certainly don't want to crimp it once it is dry, because that actually could dislodge the piece from the leather. So one is crimped. It's like so quick, you guys. If you blink, you miss it. And so now I'm just going to do the other end. And so I just applied a little glue. And now my crimp goes right on here. And again, I'm just going to crimp the center of this leather crimp. So let me also point out that where you see the slats, that's how it the crimp should be towards you, because there's a very small part where everything is connected. So you really don't want to crimp over the part that is connected, because that's just not how it's meant to be used. Okay, guys, and we just have one little part to go. And
Tina says, love this.
oh, thank you so much, Tina. I really appreciate your feedback, and of course I love it when you guys love it. All right, so I just opened my jump ring. I am using jump rings to connect, and these are nice little heavy jump rings, and on one end I'm putting a lobster claw clasp. I feel that lobster claw clasps are just pretty awesome because they work with the chain on the other side. So the reason I like using chain on the other side is because I always want to leave a little flexibility as far as the length. So I'm using the extender chain, which is about 3 inches. So that's going to add 3 inches to our necklace. Keep that in mind. And ta-da! So we have our extender chain on one end, we have our lobster on the other end, and we can literally connect to any point in this chain. And I should probably put the cap on my glue before I forget. Okay, guys, so we just finished the necklace. And the earrings, I am just going to do a little show and tell. So because the earrings are literally exactly the same as making the tassel, right? So let me just point out, we make our mushroom in the exact same way. So there is our teardrop, then there is a little rondelle that's between the teardrop and the cap, and we make a wrapped loop. Then we just attach all the other components via the wrapped loop. And finally, you know what, just for fun, just in case, now this is kind of unlikely that some of you have never made earrings, but just in case if you haven't, I'm just going to do a little bit of deconstructing, and you're going to get these little ear wires, and to put the ear wires on, all you have to do is just open the loop the same way I just did, and then put your little handmade chain with the mushroom at the bottom on the ear wire, and ta-da, we have the earrings. So again, I'll show you all the earrings. I know it's just a bit confusing, even for me sometimes, you know, because it's like, okay, which earrings go with which necklace? So if you guys remember, I actually made a different mushroom necklace a little earlier this year, and we still have some of them. So we still have some of the mushroom, actually just maybe a couple of the mushroom necklaces in the Etsy shop, but it's a very different design. And when I designed that necklace, I made little tiny, like the little tiny mushroom earrings without the Meadow part, shall we say. And so I really like the idea of two different pair, because this way you can choose, or if you have your favorite, you can just wear your favorite and maybe give the other one to a friend. So, so this colorway is the Autumn Garden.
Fall garden.
Fall Garden, that's right.
Although autumn garden sounds nice too.
I know, that sounds nice. You know, fall is just such a beautiful time of the year. I love it. I just really don't love what comes after. Okay, guys, and this is the Purple Blues, which I also kind of wanted to call Starry Night, but because really that is the inspiration, you know, just our walks at night and the beautiful sky. And this is just, to me, this colorway is just a little bit mysterious.
Kim K is wondering if we have the crimps in the Etsy shop. Such a fun project.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim.
I don't remember. I think so, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know because, well, Tony would have much more, he would know much more about what's happening in the Etsy shop, but either take a look, or we can always take a look and get back to you. I think it's probably just easiest to take a look. I know we did have them at one point, and if we don't, we can always try and restock.
Fonda says, such an adorable necklace and earrings.
Thank you so much, Fonda. Yeah, so, you know, if you're a mushroom flower person, if you love boho and color, this is for you. In the meantime, I have a preview for next week. So, you know, I'm just kind of, I feel like I'm just reinventing this again. I kind of forgot how to do this, so I'm glad I actually set up my projects, because I almost forgot about my little sugar skull spiders. I know this is not an everybody kind of thing, but okay, so while I have my spider friend on my hand right here, I will just tell you about what's coming up. So tomorrow is our Facebook Live shopping event, and this is the one-of-a-kind pendants and single strands. And I have a feeling that there may be a part 2 to this, because, you know, we started looking at our single strands, and we have quite a few. And so this is going to be a really fun event. So I hope you guys join me. And of course, this is tomorrow, September 29th at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on the Eclectica page. And next Thursday on my page, where you are right this moment at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and this is going to be October 5th, we're going to be making sugar skull spiders. And this is a little nod to the Day of the Dead. It's a little nod to Halloween. And, you know, Day of the Dead is, I think it's just become such a huge part of the American culture. And of course, the sugar skulls are so popular. And so this is my nod to that tradition.
Linda S. says, love the sugar skull spiders.
Yay, thank you so much, Linda. I'm so glad. I know some people are just like not into spiders no matter what. But these are really friendly little spiders. They're little holiday spiders. And it's been quite a few years now, actually, that I've been making spiders both for Halloween and Christmas. And, you know, at Christmas, I always tell the story of the Christmas spider. It is a thing, you guys. It's definitely one of those traditions that have been around. We just didn't know about them until, well, a few years ago. But a super fun tradition. And of course, I hope you join me for the sugar skull spiders next Thursday. So that is all I have for today. And so here are my little shrooms. And I will see you tomorrow morning. So in the meantime, Tony is telling me that we have some comments.
Kim K says you have the crimp ends in brass and antique copper. Yay!
Oh, yay! Excellent. You know what? It may be that we are running low on the silver tone, which we will most definitely attempt to reorder. But believe it or not, these little components, which I absolutely adore, they take about 4 months to get in. So it may be that we have to wait a little bit before we're able to restock, but thank you for letting me know. So we'll definitely look at it and place an order if we have to.
Randy says, love your spiders.
Oh, thank you so much, Randy. I appreciate it. So do they. See, they're waving. They're saying, bye, guys. Have a wonderful and creative evening. And I will see you tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for watching.